Hello again, everyone. I'm Mark Walmsley. I'm the founder of the Arts and Culture Network. We're a growing global community of over 185,000 now across our 8 arts and culture LinkedIn groups, right across the arts, all over the world. We're a little bit pirate. We're fiercely independent. We don't have any sponsors, advertisers, grant-making bodies, or shareholders telling us what to do, and we're entirely member funded as a community. So Andrew has joined me today. Andrew is one of our full members. We go back a year or so, but this is our first chance to record this interview. So Andrew, thank you so much for joining me today to do this, and thank you also for being one of our full members. It's very much appreciated.
Mark, thank you for having me, and it's a pleasure to be part of a group of people who care so passionately about what you all do. And so, thank you for being here. Thank you
That's
for letting me be here. Goodness.
uh, no, it's a real pleasure. I don't get to meet everyone, as you can imagine, but when I do,
Yeah.
it's great. So now we're going to have some fun today. I'm going to create your fantasy cultural year based on what you tell us about PrivacyChain and the work that you're currently doing. Um, I have a magic wand and a time machine at my disposal for this interview, and there are no wrong answers. You'll be pleased to know. So, but before we do that, perhaps you'd be kind enough to tell us a little bit more about you, where you're based, and the work that you're currently doing.
Yeah, I am, despite my accent, I am based in Dallas, Texas, and my accent hails originally born in England, grew up in South Africa. 8 years in London, and I've been in Dallas for longer than I care to admit. Um, but every morning I practice my accent in front of the mirror. There's advantages in America to having a strange accent. Anyway, um, I am in a strange place in the context of what this group does, in the sense that I cannot sing. I certainly can't draw or do art. My wife will tell me that I have zero rhythm. But I care passionately about artists and art of all types, but particularly human art and human artists. And that's led us to this point in this conversation because PrivacyChain is a technology company. But what they've built with my mad genius co-founder is a content and data management platform that allows artists to do things that they cannot do today online. If you go back 25 years to the early days of Napster and illegal file sharing, it pretty much gutted the music industry. We haven't solved that problem until now. PrivacyChain actually makes a difference in solving that problem. And so the reason that I care about this in particular is because, as I say, music in particular has been a large part of my life forever. I can, with songs will play and I remember the day, and I'm not young. And so I really want to get PrivacyChain into the right hands of the people in the industry that can make a difference by using it. It's that simple. And so I'm not going to go all technical on you on this. I'll give you a couple of examples as to what it can do, but that's the background to this. I am not a technologist. As I said, I'm not an artist by any stretch of the imagination, but I see the value of what this can do in the context of your audience, at least what I believe it can do. So that's the background to it.
That's great. And my assumption is that it will support musicians and other artists in building a reasonable revenue from their work.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Look, it's if you think about it in the context of traditional systems and technology stack, it manages content. It also manages data like user data, customer data, artist data. But in the context of where I see most of the value, it is a content management system um, that manages content at the individual file level. And it enforces rights on the individual file level. And again, I'm not going to go too deeply into it. But the way that it works is we don't build websites. We don't build applications. We sit behind the applications and we allow people to store their content on this platform and to do some amazing things with it online.
Sounds great. Well, where can we find out more? If we'll put links in wherever this appears, but what's the website address?
My LinkedIn is the best place to start. The website is caters to many different industries and use cases, for better or for worse. So it's not going to be terribly helpful, although there is a use case around content in there. The website is theprivacychain.com.
Great.
But the best
Excellent.
way to people to reach out to me is through LinkedIn. I'm pretty active and I respond.
Yeah. Well, we'll make sure the links are all there in
Great.
for that. That's great. Excellent. Thank you very much for that. It's yes, I remember you and I had a conversation a while back, and I think we both agreed that 25 years ago, a band would tour to promote sales of its album. Now it's the other way around. I think it was Nine Inch Nails who were the first band to give away the album if you bought a ticket for the tour. And the bottom really has fallen out of the recorded music business model um, because of, as you point out, Napster and illegal file sharing. It's crazy, isn't it? I've just about to spend hundreds of pounds to go and see Luke Combs live, but I begrudged paying £3 for an MP3. You know, it's back in the day. So yeah, anything that supports artists of all kinds producing content of any in any format, um, getting the recognition and the revenue that they deserve, I think, is to be applauded. So thank you, on behalf of all of the people who you will already be helping and will continue to help. Thank you very much for that work. Um,
Pleasure.
it's great. Now we're going to have some fun now. Based on that, and your desire to share with the world the possibilities that PrivacyChain brings, I'm going to create your fantasy cultural year. There are no wrong answers. I have a magic wand and a time machine. Now, in order to start, I need to place you somewhere in the world. And I'm going to do that by asking you, what's your favorite building?
I knew this was coming because you gave me a warning. And I actually came up with two. I will, it's just a strange answer. Topkapi Palace in Istanbul. Many years ago, I've been to Istanbul a couple of times, and it's a, and I don't mean this in any derogatory way, it's a crazy city. It's busy, it's noisy, it's crowded, it's fun. And I went to Topkapi Palace, and it's the old Sultan's Palace before the grandeur of Dolmabahce, which is just massive gold.
Mm,
And it is just so astonishingly peaceful.
it's
It's just,
beautiful. Have I found the right one?
yeah, you have.
There we go.
It is on the end of the peninsula, which makes it even more beautiful. It is just something about the atmosphere and something about coming out of the crazy city of Istanbul into Topkapi Palace was magical. I've never forgotten it.
It looks wonderful.
It's great.
Okay. Now, okay, for the purposes of our fantasy cultural year, I'm going to place you at a pop-up bar here. Okay. It's 6 p.m. on a June evening and it's warm and sunny, and you're admiring the view, sitting at a table and chairs here with a pop-up bar and cafe. And there's a drink on the table next to you. What would we find there?
In this particular instance, you'd probably find me having a gin and tonic.
Gin and tonic, love it.
Mhm.
So Top Carpi Palace, gin and tonic. And now there's a
Yep.
book. There's a book on the table next to you. It could be your favorite book. It could be a book that's been with you all your life, changed your life, or it could be a recent discovery. What book would we find on the table next to you?
Oh, wow. I guess a book that's been with me most of my life, Cry the Beloved Country by Alan Payton, because he was my stepfather. He wrote the book before he became my stepfather, but obviously he and all of his work became a big part of my life. So I'll
Mm,
take that one.
great one. And you've got headphones on and there's music playing. What would you be listening to?
Oh gosh. Pink Floyd. Wish you were here.
Mm, brilliant. Love
Wish
it.
you were here.
You won't be
But
surprised that nobody chooses the same four options. It's wonderful. That would be enough. So Topkapi Palace, gin and tonic, your stepfather's book, Cry the Beloved Country,
yeah,
is it? And Pink Floyd. Um, what track was it?
wish you were here.
Wish You Were Here.
Just beautiful. Yeah.
Just beautiful. Now you're feeling quite pleased with yourself because you've come from a meeting in the Topkapi Palace with a wealthy where is it? It's in
Istanbul.
Istanbul, yeah, with a wealthy Turkish family foundation, okay, who have got wind of the work you've been doing around PrivacyChain, and they're passionate, equally passionate about people's right to own their content and to benefit from their own creativity. And they see pockets of opportunity around the world where an initiative could be funded to change things meaningfully for the artists and other people who depend on their capacity to create content to pay the bills. Okay. They'd like to hire you for a year, okay, at great expense. Um, First class all the way, beautiful accommodation. Friends can and family can come and visit you while you're doing this trip. They'd like you to visit certain areas of the world to take a sort of sounding board in terms of the issue that PrivacyChain addresses, so that they know where to invest more to raise the bar for everybody. You'll become the go-to commentator on this issue. There'll be a TV crew following you. There's a book deal in it. There's a TED talk when you get back, a global university lecture tour as well. And does that sound like fun?
Sounds like fun to me.
Fantastic. So all you have to do is to decide where you're going to start. So we're going to get on a plane in Istanbul and go to the place that you'd like to start. And that can be anywhere in the world. Where would you like to start?
We're going to start in London.
London.
Yeah,
Okay.
we are.
So
We
you
are.
got you got on the plane. You turned left when you got on the plane. The steward brings you a gin and tonic and a note from the family foundation. They've got a fun challenge for you, which is musical. They'd like to know if you could limit your musical listening to one very specific genre or type of music for 12 months to the exclusion of all else. So if you had to listen to one genre of music only, what would it be? I know it's agony.
Yeah. If you did it in time frame, it would be the 60s, but if you did it in genre, it's rock. That's pretty
Yeah,
broad, but yeah, I'm an old rocker at heart.
you're an old rocker. That's a great choice. That's quite broad.
Yeah.
Someone rather cheekily said live music to
Actually,
get
that's pretty clever. Yeah,
that
I
is
like that.
clever.
That's actually very good.
I didn't expect the head of Chinese art at Sotheby's to suggest hip hop. And when I asked her, I said, "Do you like hip hop?" And she said, "No, but after a year of it, I might." So she went the other way, which was very clever. Okay, so we arrive in London, and a group of young artists and content creators meet you and welcome you to London. You're whisked into the centre of the city to a beautiful loft apartment overlooking the Thames, overlooking the South Bank Centre, and Hungerford Bridge there. And they say, right, unpack, relax, make yourself at home. We're coming back to take you out to a dance performance followed by dinner. Now, this is where the magic wand and the time machine comes in, because I can put on the stage in front of you any dance performance you like, any dancers, living or not, any dance group, any dance style. And we can go back in time if we need to do that. So, in those circumstances, what dance-based performance would you like me to put on the stage? You don't have to stay in British culture.
Oh, that's pretty interesting. I would go to the ballet.
Okay.
I'm a rocker, but I go to the ballet, and don't ask me which one. I
Okay.
really couldn't tell you. I just, is something about the grace and the beauty of ballet which is captivating.
Yes. Swan Lake would be a good shout, I think.
Swan Lake would be a good shot. I mean, that's
Yeah.
it's the obvious one, so I wasn't going to, but I will support that one. Let's do Swan Lake.
We could do Matthew Burns' production, which is all male. That would be interesting.
That'd be different.
Yeah. Excellent. Now, London has cuisine from every corner of the planet in its restaurants, and you get to choose which national cuisine are we going for?
I'm going for a good curry.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah. Look, I grew up in Durban in South Africa, and I grew up on really excellent curries. And I don't not sure I found any curries as good as those were, but that was a long time ago, so perhaps I'm biased.
Great choice. Well, we'll go to a modern Indian restaurant called Anise in Devonshire Square near Liverpool Street, which I love. Excellent. Um, Now we're going to buzz again. We're going to fly. Where are we going next from London?
Ooh, I'm still on my trip funded by the
Yes.
Turkish family.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, goodness me. Notice that I'm staying out of America. I think I'm going to Dubai.
Okay.
I don't quite know why, but I think that's where I'm going next.
Okay. We arrive in Dubai in the United Arab Emirates, and it's sport day in Dubai. We
It's
had sport day.
a sport day.
Yes, we had breakdancing in the Olympics in Paris. We've got dressage, we've got gymnastics to music, we've got synchronized swimming. Some sport is clearly performance art.
That's,
Even a good golf swing.
Although rugby's performance art, let's be real.
Absolutely.
I'm
Yes.
such a rugby fan, but
Well, that might be the answer to this question because I
all
can
right.
put you in front of any sporting event. What would you like to what I won't choose is 2008 Rugby World Cup where England lost to South Africa because I was there.
I've always wanted to go to the sevens tournaments.
Oh, Hong Kong Sevens.
Go to Hong Kong sevens.
Can I come with you, please?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah,
Wonderful. I mean, it's just then the atmosphere there is great. It's a bit like the darts. The audience get really involved with the darts.
yes.
The Hong Kong Sevens are just like that. Fantastic. Love that. Now we're going to whisk you again. Where are we going next?
Tokyo.
Tokyo. Now in Tokyo, there is a new digitally enhanced art gallery. It's not projection or immersion. You put on a virtual reality headset and you can step into the work of a famous artist. It becomes three-dimensional. It's 360 degrees. You can walk around in it. There is movement and there is sound. You can see in all of those senses and in 3 dimensions what the artist could only suggest in two. In those circumstances, whose work would you like to step into?
Oh, you're testing my knowledge of artists. Oh. Uh,
If you're stuck, I can make suggestions.
Give me a couple of suggestions.
We've had people wanting to go into Salvador Dali's art to stand underneath that dripping clock. We've had people in Monet's garden. Um, Van Gogh has featured quite prominently, as of course has Da Vinci and Michelangelo. Um, I was in the Uffizi Gallery 2 weeks ago and able to standing in front of the Birth of Venus, the Botticelli, and that was incredible. So any of those would be You could stand next to the to Venus in the Botticelli Venus Rising.
Um, I was going to go Turner because of the landscapes and the beauty of the landscape,
Mm,
but oh, Dali would be interesting.
Dali would be interesting.
Let's go
Yeah,
Dali.
Dali. He had an anteater as a pet. Only he could do that.
Only he could do that.
Yes. Now I'm going to whisk you back to London.
Yeah.
And we're going out together every night of the week to do something cultural. And between us, we can decide what that is. So on Monday, we're going back in time to a rock or pop concert, okay, with the time machine. On Tuesday, we're going to a theatre play. And Wednesday is a Broadway or West End musical. Thursday is opera or ballet. And Friday is film night. And between us, we can choose what we're going to see. So, Andrew, is there a concert that you attended that you would love to go back and experience again?
Oh, one that I've attended. Ooh. Yeah, I saw the Rolling Stones live in Austin a couple of years ago. I would do that again and again and again.
Fantastic. And as a slight twist to that question, is there a concert or an artist or a band that you had the chance to see, didn't, now can't, and regret it?
Mm. I had the chance to see Live Aid and I didn't.
Oh,
I was in London. I had just got to London.
mm,
Literally my second night in London, and I could have gone and I did not. And I regret
yeah,
it to this day.
I'm sure. My regret was 1982 or three, I think. One of my regrets. I was on a youth orchestra tour and we flew in to New York the day before Simon and Garfunkel's concert in the park.
Oh, wow.
But flew out the next day, but drove out the next day to go and do the tour. So we weren't in New York when that happened. And to rub salt in the wound, I was disappointedly sitting on the bus looking out of the window, and I thought I'll listen to Simon and Garfunkel as a because I can't be there at the concert. And the line came up counting the cars on the New Jersey Turnpike, just as the New Jersey Turnpike sign passed the bus. And I thought, right, thank you. My other regret was 79 Bob Marley. Could have gone, didn't. Absolutely regret it. Okay, Tuesday, we're in London, so we've got Shakespeare's Globe, if you wish. What play would we go to?
I'm so out of touch with theatre now. I would go to whatever's on at Shakespeare's Globe, quite honestly. Love Shakespeare's plays.
Yeah,
One of
I
my
would.
favorite slightly offbeat theatre was in London, concert in the park doing, I think it was Midsummer Night's Dream in the pouring rain. It was
Mm,
there, it was because it was raining, they were having an enormous amount of fun ad-libbing it. I don't think I've
um,
ever laughed so much at a performance of anything. It's absolutely brilliant.
that may have been the Regent's Park Open Air Theatre.
It was Regent's Park. Thank
Yeah,
you. Yes. A
I've
long
performed.
time ago.
I've performed there.
Oh, wow.
Fortunately, it didn't rain. I was in the band for a performance. Um, Great choice. Love that. Now, what about, are you into musicals or not?
Um, the one that I wish I could have seen, but I have not, was Jesus Christ Superstar.
Think it's coming back with Sam Ryder. Yeah.
It's my wife performed in Godspell a
Mm,
lot, so we debate which one we would go to. We'd probably go to both, obviously, but
mm,
I would love to have gone to that, and never got the chance to do it.
mm. Okay, we'll do that. Now you can choose between opera and ballet. Which would you go for?
Done Swan Lake, so we're going to
Mhm.
go to the opera, and I cannot remember what it's called. I know it's an Italian opera, but I really cannot remember what it's called.
Might it be
But
a
it has one of the most stirring pieces of music I have ever heard in my life in it. It's
is it
dramatic.
Puccini,
There you go. You're
Tosca?
good.
Tosca?
I think it may be. I mean, I don't know exactly, but I think it was Puccini.
Hmm.
It's just gorgeous.
Yeah, Tosca is my favorite. It could have been La Boheme as well, but
One of the two.
Tosca's a wonderful introduction to opera, really is. Okay, and now film night. Big screen, surround sound, me and you, lots of popcorn, best seats in the house. What are we watching?
This one's got me completely stumped. I don't have a favorite film. I've seen too many of them. Um,
I could help you out here with a sub question.
Go for it.
Is there a film that if you start watching, you can't finish watching until it's done?
Uh, hmm. This is a really tough one. There are some very quirky, weird movies that stand out for me.
Mm-hmm.
Local Hero stood out for
Love
me.
it. Yeah.
It was just something about the whole. It was just brilliant.
Mm.
Yeah, I would. It's almost an embarrassing choice. It's so quirky, but I love that movie.
Yeah. Is that the one with Mark Knopfler's soundtrack?
Yes,
Yeah. You can't
yes,
beat that. I know I can hear it in my head now.
yeah.
Mine would have been my. I often think of mine when I'm interviewing our members. Monsieur Hulot's Holiday. I loved. That
Don't
is,
know that one.
it's a French actor from the 50s called Jacques Tati.
Okay.
It's just sublime. Very, very funny. Sort of mime almost. You don't need to speak French to understand it. They don't speak any language. It's just hilarious. Um, and the life and death of Colonel Blimp. That's the one if I start watching that, I can't stop. I love that movie as well.
I
Yeah.
I don't remember that one, but I'm pretty sure that I know of it. I don't recall if I've ever seen it.
It's worth a look.
Okay.
It
Yeah,
really
I
is.
will. I will. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, Andrew, we're nearly there, and I'm going to send you off to do this wonderful year of work. But before I let you go to continue traveling around the world on your fantasy cultural year, I'm going to give you a hero lunch in London. What was your cuisine of choice? I'm just trying to remind myself. Oh, curry. Yes,
Gary.
you're at Anise in Devonshire Square near Liverpool Street. You can invite one person and they will come. And it can be anyone you like, living or not, historical or present day, famous or otherwise. Um, who would you like to have a leisurely 2 hour lunch with?
Winston Churchill.
Great choice. He'll know the area, which is good. Now, in a slight,
He
go on.
talk about a flawed human being who rose to the occasion with all of his flaws on full display. Just
Yeah.
what it's just fascinating. I watched the Gary Oldman biopic again a couple of years ago, and it's just
Mm.
astounding.
Yeah. Yeah. Great choice. Now, in a slight twist to that question, who do you think Winston Churchill would invite in similar circumstances?
I suspect, perhaps, hopefully, he would have invited Stalin and tried to figure it out before it all went to hell.
Good idea. Very good idea. I wonder if he might invite Napoleon and Wellington as well.
Well, those yes, okay. If we're going back that far.
Yeah, he that would Churchill convening between Napoleon and Wellington would be hilarious because Churchill used to play with all his toy soldiers and things as well, didn't he? So he used to reenact Waterloo to see if he could have done it, beaten Wellington. So that could be fun.
I'd like to have
Excellent.
gone back. I'd like to have gone back to the Greeks and the Romans too. Fascinating,
Mm,
fascinating cultures.
yeah, absolutely. There we go. Andrew, that's your
Uh,
fantasy cultural year. Have you enjoyed it?
What a wonderful half an hour. Truly, I had to completely reset and rethink and just sit back and thoroughly enjoyed it.
Oh, that's
Really
great.
enjoyed it. I do hope that if I come back to my Turkish family and what they're wanting me to do, my hero lunch would be with artists who are using the platform to actually make an online living,
Yeah.
selling songs that only play once, selling songs that play 1 hour of the day, selling
Mm,
music that you can only, selling pictures that are on display for 2 hours of the day. That kind
mm,
of stuff. That's my real hero lunch. I really want to make a difference. So
yeah.
Churchill can wait. That's what I want to do.
Fantastic. Andrew, thank you so much. This has been great fun. Thank you for being one of our full members. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Please
Lovely.
don't rush off, but wherever this appears, there'll be information about you and the work and Privacy Chain. But for the time being, thank you so much for sharing your fantasy cultural year.
Loved it. Thank you, Mark.